and welcome to Research Party, where we review books aimed at teachers that may or may not claim to be evidence-based, whatever that is.
I'm Darren, and this is Lucy, and we're here to crash the party that every education book seems to be throwing these days. You know, the research-based, evidence-informed, scientifically proven stuff that promises to revolutionise your classroom.
That's right. We're like those party guests who actually read the fine print on the invitation. While everyone else is dancing to the latest edu trend, we're in the corner checking if the DJ actually knows who public service broadcasting is.
You know yet? No, still no. Each episode, we pick apart a book that claims to have the research receipts and ask whether some of these receipts are more like shopping lists on the back of an envelope.
We'll dig into the studies, poke apart the claims, and ask the burning question, is this actually evidence-based, or is it just sort of evidence adjacent?
And most importantly, should you spend your precious teacher time reading this, or would you be better off marking those books that have been in the boot of your car all weekend?
So grab your highlighters, pour yourself something delicious, and join us as we separate I can never say this. And join us as we separate the research wheat from the pedagogical chaff. Let's get this party
started. I think we're getting worse at that.
Perfect.
Synchronicity bit.
So today we're reviewing Math-ish, Finding Creativity, Diversity and Meaning in Mathematics by Joe Boaler. Over to you for some blurb.
Okay, so the blurb from the book, which I should say I read for the first time with the delightful little bookmarks that you created for us with our little research party branding, which is an absolute delight.
We should say that actually wasn't me, that was my partner.
Was it?
Yeah, surprise gift from my partner.
It is excellent. So the blurb from the book. So this book says, mathematics is a fundamental part of life, yet every one of us has a unique relationship with learning and understanding the subject. Working with numbers may inspire confidence in our abilities or provoke anxiety and trepidation. Stanford researcher, mathematics education professor, and the leading expert on math learning, Dr. Joe Boaler, argues that our differences are the key to unlocking our greatest mathematics potential. In Math-ish, Boaler shares new neuroscientific research on how embracing the concept of math-ish, a theory of mathematics as it exists in the real world, changes the way we think about mathematics, data, and ourselves. When we can see the value of diversity among people and multifaceted approaches to learning maths, we are free to truly flourish. Utilising the latest research on math education, Joe guides us through 7 principles that can radically reframe our relationship with the subject. So,
you're not going to say what the 7 principles are?
I mean, I can do. Shall I keep going?
No.
As the principles are
fine.
The power of mindset on learning, utilising a visual approach to math, the impact of physical movement and communication on understanding the value of an ish perspective in mathematics and beyond. I'm trying to make you laugh every time I say ish. The importance of connected and flexible knowledge, new data on diverse teaching modes that work with different learning styles and not against them, and the value of diversity in learning mathematics and beyond.
Now, the reason I got you to read those out,
just because they're not principles.
No, is readers, listeners, watchers who have ever been to a conference, particularly an academic style conference, but any conference where you offer a talk or an event where you offer a talk, there's the point where you're all excited about speaking at the event and you think, yeah, I'm going to be so cool. Everyone's going to love my talk and be the best talk anyone's ever heard. And so you write a proposal or an abstract or whatever the word is in your area, and off you send, and then you get this lovely email saying your proposal's been accepted. And then about 3 to 6 months later, maybe 9 months later, depends on the timelines, you then get this sinking feeling you're going to have to write this thing and deliver it with, panache, charm, credibility, all of the things. And if you're anything like me, firstly, you've lost the original proposal. So now I'm good and I save them in a special folder. But secondly, the thing you're now ready to write is completely different to the original proposal. This is a long-winded story, Darren, but I'm looking at those,
flavour of where it's going.
I'm looking at those 7 principles, and I can name at least 3 of those that are not actually dealt with in this book, substantively.
I think, substantively being the key thing there. They're sort of...
Well, physical movement and communication and understanding, I don't think. Embodied cognition,
really
I don't think... I actually don't think it is anywhere in this book. New data on diverse teaching modes that work with different learning styles, not against them. Nope, there's no mention of learning styles in this book, none at all. And then, I mean, the importance of connecting vegetable knowledge, yes. The value of diversity in learning mathematics and kind of yes. Utilising a visual, yes. But I mean, this is not the book that I just read exactly at all. So I feel like this person did not go back and rewrite their proposal after they've written the talk, which is a problem.
What I will say is that a good editor, and I say this very pointedly, would come back to you after you've put your initial submission in and say, this is fine, here are some suggestions. Rewrite the abstract.
Right. And if our episodes had a title...
Lucy's just done that to me.
Thank you. I appreciate the love for that. If our episodes had a title that wasn't just the title of the book, I would call this one, and maybe we both need to think of a title. The title of this episode for me would be The Importance of a Good Editor.
Yes.
And please take that in the snarky way it was intended.
I am very intrigued to see your thoughts on this book, because again, I suspect that we perhaps had similar experiences of reading it based on what you've said there. I'm going to throw this at you today because I can. What are you drinking? What are you thinking?
Right. Well, I'm drinking iced coffee because it's quite early in the morning. I mean, it's not that early in the morning, but we're recording this relatively early in the morning for us, and so my first drink of the day is always an iced coffee. Which is no matter the weather, I'm that guy out in shorts in the snow, or gal out in shorts in the snow. And I should also now, I've already given a shout out to my partner once today. I'm going to see how many I can get in, because my partner makes this every night, so that it's the perfect temperature for me first thing in the morning. I know, every night. So that's what I'm drinking. What am I thinking is, I am confused.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a lovely, purple, exciting looking book that I was excited to read. I think we mentioned previously I'd already owned this book. I didn't even have to buy it because I'd already bought it and was ready to read it. I broadly feel like Joe Boaler's principles of maths teaching align very well with mine. Looking at those 7 principles, there were things there that I was excited. And I finished this book and I feel like I'm none the wiser about so many things. I honestly think confused is the headline here. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you said that, because that is broadly my experience as well. Like exactly the same thing. Like when I started reading this book, I thought, wow, everything she's saying is so aligned with the way I conceptualize mathematics. This is going to be fantastic. And the longer I read it, the further I got through the book, the more frustrated I was getting by, like you say, the slight sort of lack of actual detail in some of the writing, the tone of some of the writing, like there was a whole load of stuff in there that I just really sort of started to bounce off more and more, to the point where by the end of the book I was getting really annoyed by it.
Hold on, you're conceptualizing your confusion level or your repulsiveness, not your repulsiveness.
I mean, that's very strong.
your repulsion to the book as a linear relationship that as it increased with more reading the book.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, let me tell you that mine was like this.
Okay.
I hated it at the beginning. I liked it a bit in the middle, and I hated it again at the end.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit in the middle that I particularly like,
right.
And I'm sure you're going to predict at some
Readers,
point later.
The middle of this book is really good.
It's very good, yeah. So yes, I mean, maybe not completely linear. Maybe a sort of a first half, second half kind of.
Piecewise, which I'm going to touch on later. I'm actually going to talk about piecewise today, guys.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it, because what we tend to do with this is we talk for about 40 minutes about what we like and what we're thinking, and then we kind of repeat.
You haven't told us what you're drinking though, so.
What I'm drinking is I'm drinking a lovely green tea, which I don't think I've shown this on the podcast before, which is coming from my lovely teapot. Actually, my partner's lovely teapot, which I have seconded to make my green tea.
I find that such a violation. I would never steal another person's teapot.
I mean, she doesn't use it, so I feel justified in taking it out the back of the cupboard.
Hang on. Now, I'm very excited just to see the results of my initial conjecture. You have this beautiful teapot with a floral pattern. I really want there to be a matching floral china teacup and saucer, but I'm almost 100% sure there isn't. In fact, I'm almost 100% sure this will be a football mug.
No, the mug I'm using is our again branded. I'm all about the Rycroft Smith and Macy branding today. So this is our mug.
So this is just a very gentle nudge that you would like a branded teapot for Christmas.
A branded teapot for Christmas. No, I mean nobody needs two teapots. Like.
I disagree. I disagree.
I mean, you can't use two teapots simultaneously.
You can. Well, not simultaneously. No, but for different types of tea or different beverages.
I should say I have 4 different things for making coffee with, all of which have a specific purpose.
I rest my case. I will also say that listeners in the US can confirm this, but they sometimes use teapots for coffee. I've seen it done.
I mean, that sounds monstrous, but
and sure. I feel like you'd have one for tea, one for coffee.
I think, well, you'd have to because flavour contamination. Yep. Okay, let us move things on to actually talking about the book. So the first big question: does it claim to be research based?
Oh boy, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we've got the words in the blurb. We've got lots of references to research throughout. And then we've got the credentializing of the author as, let's not forget, the expert.
The expert.
Again, this is an editorial issue because I feel like maybe someone wrote that. And I'm not going to say ChatGPT, but maybe. And then they just didn't go back and edit it.
Yes.
These things matter. So yes, I would say it absolutely claims to be research-based. There are a lot of references to a lot of research in here throughout. Each chapter has footnotes, which does annoy me because you have to go to the number, find the right number, look at the thing. Right. Some of the time it's a research paper. If there's a quote or a particular part of the research paper, it doesn't give you the page number some of the time, which is really annoying. So anyway, that's just my private bugbear. But yes, it does.
Do we consider it to be?
Oh, no. I love that this person's professor at Stanford University, and I have now been told this approximately 37 times reading the book.
At Stanford, really?
And I had, been aware of Jo Boaler's work. I think it would be difficult not to be, being in maths education. And, let's just start by saying I'm here for women. I believe women. I'm here for particularly northern women, which I love. She's from Birmingham. And she's probably gone to the US and everyone thinks she's really posh, which I think is amazing.
I'll just stop you there for our readers from the Midlands.
Okay.
That may not like to be described as
I'm here for people from areas of the world. Let me try again. People from areas of the UK that aren't London being experts in things, I think is generally a good thing.
Yeah.
You can tell that I'm not.
I like to pick you. It's nice to have a chance to pick you up on something for a change.
Thank you. I'm from London adjacent Essex, so
Yeah.
We're quite famous in Essex.
So everything north of Portsdown Hill is the north. So
right.
London is northerners to me.
Yeah. So why would I not think this is research based? There's a couple of things. One, there's a tone to this where when the author is discussing researchers, somehow, and this is the thing she critiques researchers for the most in her personal life, as far as I can tell, somehow she makes it sound like a big boys club that she's part of.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's so subtle, but it's not like so-and-so did this piece of research and this is what it said. It's like my mate Johnny and Thingy at UCL did this piece of research.
When I was having dinner in a lovely, cool Californian place.
It's a bit like that. And
Professor
I feel like
Johnny McJohnnyface.
And I did look again because it feels very male-centric in terms of the researchers that are referenced. And I stand by that. It's quite male-centric. It's not like only men are referenced, but it's pretty heavy on the men. And that bothers me. But equally, the moment that I realised this was not well grounded in evidence was page 27 when we get John Hattie's work. And if you're unfamiliar, John Hattie was the person who talked about visible learning, which was this idea that you can basically measure all the variables in the classroom. And a massive meta-analysis of that has basically given a list of all the things that you can do that will change learning, change the outcomes of learning, and all the things that are less good bets. And it's been widely critiqued. I mean, there's been, maybe when you and I were teaching, early on, there was quite widespread adoption of lots of these ideas, but there's been a lot of discussion about this. And to just present John Hattie's work without any of that discussion, and whether Jo Boaler really likes the work or doesn't like the work or thinks the principles have held to her experience, all great things to talk about. There's just no discussion of the limitations or a critique of it, and that just is throughout. So we've got research presented with no limitations, no critique, and some horrible overgeneralization in the wording, which upsets me a lot.
Yeah, and I think all of that, and I think the other thing as well is where there was bits of detail about research, it was often Jo Boaler's own research, but kind of presented as a classroom experience, anecdotes that basically explained why Jo Boaler is absolutely brilliant at doing teaching and learning. And
do you get that impression, don't you? It wasn't just me. I sort of called it self-referential credentializing throughout.
Right. So I want to come back to that because I don't want to talk about some of these things in sort of too early on, but yes, absolutely. Okay, so we are skeptical on the research-based.
Hold on, I believe that Jo's read this research. I believe that she's very grounded in it, and I believe that almost all of the ideas presented in the book have a good grounding in evidence. It is not well expressed in the book, and that's the major issue I have for it. And someone somewhere decided to leave out this stuff about limitations, critique, any kind of subtlety or nuance. It's just, and I'll give you an example, they found that all of the ideas are applicable to university mathematics. They absolutely didn't, and they're not all applicable. Things like one benefit is all students feel included. As soon as I see that word all, it's like basal ganglia.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I mean, again, it's partly the editorial thing, but I read this book without the research impacting my reading. I'm not sure that's expressed quite right, insofar as the majority, all of those references, all those numbered citations within the text, didn't need to be there because most of the time what was being talked about wasn't in the sort of depth where it made a material difference. I'm not quite sure.
I don't agree with that.
It was almost a research washing sense, I think.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Times. Okay.
Let's get into it and we'll see if we come back to that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the positives. A thing that you loved about this book.
Well, you have to guess first.
Oh, I have to guess. Okay. So I think, and we sort of touched on this already, I think there were lots of things that certainly on the surface level you loved about this book.
I'm never on the surface level, and if you haven't figured that out by now, my friend. Dangerous words.
So, I think there was a lot of language in this book that I think you probably really vibe with. So that there is a lot of talk about mathematical diversity, rejecting the idea of narrow maths, about diversity more generally outside just the specific mathematics.
I agree. There's a lot of talk about diversity in this book.
This is why I said at a surface level.
Why would you talk about things I love and then also in the same sentence use the phrase at a surface level? I do not operate at that level when it comes to things I love. So
I think in the middle of the book there was some stuff about the ideas of mathematical journaling, which I think you would have appreciated, and also about sketch notes and beauty. Yep. And spent a little bit of time talking about sketchnoting within maths context, which I thought was interesting stuff.
I don't know that they spent much time. It was just sketchnoting's really good and you should all try it. Yeah, I mean, anything about the principles of good sketchnoting? Is it just any pictures that we draw, any doodles are all fine? Yeah, just the customary broad brush approach. Just do this thing, it's really good. Fine, thank you.
I feel I'm wayward here. I think there was bits of language. So page 41, there was a phrasing, fairly careful phrasing, like all genders, rather than boys and girls and all of those sorts of things, which are kind of small details that I know you normally appreciate.
I do. And did you not notice that then later on, she indeed used boys and girls? If you're going to do it consistently.
Right. And there were a few things, again, to pick up there about that consistency across the board.
So hold on. You don't think that I care about consistency. This is what you've got from the 10 years of knowing me and the now, 8 episodes of this podcast. You probably like this thing because she did it once in the book, but later on she didn't do it.
I think what I'm trying to say here is that I feel like there's like, in terms of the things you loved in this book, well, that I think you loved in this book, there's sort of lots of false starts, that they're sort of like,
yes, I agree,
almost there, and then...
And that could be described as things that I didn't like.
That you hated. Okay, so I got one small tick. What were the things that you loved?
Right, so you got a tick for I like the discussion of journaling and sketchnoting. I think that's important. There wasn't enough of it. So here's the 2 main things that I liked. Not afraid to go after the wicked problems. I would have liked more of this, but when it was done well. We've got dividing fractions. We've got calculus.
Yeah.
The lemon task is so beautiful in this book. When we finally got less of the waffle and the generalization, and we actually got into, here's a thing you can do in the classroom. I loved it. So on page 203 to 205.
Just quickly enlighten our readers listeners what the lemon task was.
So page 203 to 205, there's a discussion of a particular task, and there's quite a lot about this in here. And we finally sort of get to it where you think, oh yeah, now that makes sense. But I don't know why we had to wait 200. But well, okay, there's a bit before that. But so this is a discussion of finding the volume of a lemon. And the idea is students come up with any ideas they want to find the volume of a lemon. And so there is kind of no wrong way to do this, but they were given things like a knife and cutting board. I mean, giving students that is a choice. A vase, water, string, digital calipers, Play-Doh, protractors, rulers. And then we've got some images showing lots of the different variety of approaches. And that's one of the first times that I thought, okay, I get it now. And that's nice. And that was actually connected to calculus, which is really lovely. I don't think it had to be. I think you could do it in lots of ways. And one student said, I'd always been expected to just accept the truth of maths. And now I feel like I can mess around like an elementary schooler. And you're like, okay, right. So yes, I did love that. And the dividing fractions and stuff as well. Some issues with that. But not being afraid to go after some of those problems, I'm sad that negative numbers aren't in here, I felt a real strength of the book. So that was one thing. And then second thing, I can't believe you missed this as well, Diara's story, page 170, about really wanting to find a fulfilling career that did both maths and artistic things and working in the overlap. Come on, Macy, how did you miss it? How did you miss it?
You're right. I did drop the ball on that one.
I looked at Diara's stuff. It's incredible.
Did you? Okay.
And then I think overall,
this was the mathematical
fashion design.
Dresses.
Yes.
Yeah, fashion.
Yes. And then overall, the idea of ish numbers I really liked. I don't think it was always well conceptualized, but if you'd have said that, you'd absolutely get the point. But specifically, I'll get back to that when we talk about a bit of language that I liked.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
I mean, I think there's a gimme in this one that is going to take no effort whatsoever from you.
Right.
But
so there are 3 main sort of core mathematical ideas that Jo proposes in this book. One of them is number sense, and the second one is about data. And data as an absolutely integral part of mathematics education, not a side note, not an add-on. Here's the quote that I suspect had you jumping out of your chair. When teachers take a data perspective, they can teach the same numbers they've always taught students, but now the numbers have meaning. They represent something in the real world. Loved it.
Yes. I mean, the thing that I enjoyed so much about that section of the book is, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, where I have this sort of like worry of like, what are they going to do with data kind of thing, and it was done right. Like,
it was done right.
Right. Yeah. It was done in line with. I'm going to take away the problem that I trouble right slightly, because again, personal biases and things, but it was done in line with what a lot of research says that I would certainly rely on when talking about data stuff. And it was done in this really expansive way that didn't say, as you said, like it's you've got maths and then you've got this bit of statistics that we've sort of chucked onto maths because we have to put it somewhere. It was like, actually, this can really enrich what you do as a maths teacher by thinking in terms of this data stuff. And I think actually that core of the book, that ish numbers idea, is what opens up that space for maths and statistics to interact in a way that it doesn't a lot at the moment, because you have these concrete maths, one answer, blah, 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 and therefore stats has to be different. But as soon as you say ish numbers, it's... Anyway, I could talk about this for 20 minutes and I'm not going.
And feel free if you wish.
No, I should not go down that rabbit hole too far, but it was great, like really genuinely great to see a book that A, did it well, and B, like made it an important part of it and a fundamental part of it. And I love that. Anything else?
Well, I had a question mark. You know, sometimes you have this, did they love it? Did they hate it?
Well, that's how I feel about your bit. So.
Yeah. I flip-flopped about this one in particular. And so page 137, the football diagram. I genuinely couldn't decide if you loved or hated that.
The football diagram.
There's a diagram which is, you've got this sort of comparative mode where you've got an image which is just it's players on a football field that are represented by dots, right?
Yeah.
So 137.
137. Yeah, I got it.
So it's a soccer pitch, which we'll forgive. Soccer pitch with 22 players, bunch of dots. And then there's a sort of second version where they're joined up into kind of triangles and quadrilaterals. And on the one hand, I thought, oh, this is quite cool. The point being made is that people who understand this sport start to see patterns and visuals in a dynamic way as players are moving around, and people who are, you know, novices and don't understand the sport very well see what she kind of describes as this chaos sort of shifting around on the pitch. I thought that's a really good, interesting way of relating this to real life. The diagram itself, though, I mean, I'm no expert at football, but I feel like I need more explanation. Like, what's that quadrilateral supposed to represent? And why also don't we have shapes that connect players and the people they're marking, which seems important to me?
Because
I don't know, I just wanted more.
It's connecting the sort of the units of the two teams.
Okay, so did you love it? Did you hate it? Or did you just not?
I mean, it's one where I thought, yeah, interesting.
Oh, wow. So that's a big myth for me.
But I guess the thing is, I looked at it, it makes sense because, you know, I'm one of the people who does see the patterns in football because I like football. And so it was like, okay, yeah, that's a reasonable diagram. I think it's interesting to say that if you don't know, like, exactly that thing, if you don't know the patterns already, it's hard to interpret the diagram. But this is about a mental representation rather than necessarily communicative.
I would have just liked some labels on there as well, so I learned something about what I'm looking at. But anyway, I digress.
Kind of defenders, midfielders, attackers.
All right. Would you like me to continue with a thing I think you hated?
Well, I just want to pick up another bit that I thought, where I thought, oh, I'm going to love this book because it fed into my own biases at the very start. Like the cold open of this book, I thought was great. But also then set the tone for the things that I didn't like later on. But the cold open is essentially, I met a CEO at a dinner party. He was a bit of an obnoxious prick, so I mathsed at him.
I don't even remember that. It made no impression on me.
I just thought, okay, there's going to be some heavy critique of the kind of bits of society that I heavily critique. And I mean, it didn't continue through the rest of the book.
Oh, yeah. Because elsewhere throughout the whole book, she seems very kind of deferential to CEOs and tech leaders.
That was, again, one of the things where my perspective sort of started to shift a bit because, she started to deify some of these people, whereas that opening thing, it felt a bit more like, oh, there's this sort of obnoxious group of CEOs and I'm going to puncture that and did not continue.
No.
Okay.
Well.
Go for things I hated then.
Oh, okay. Right. Now, this is slightly things I hated disguised because there's an overlap, but I do think these things are absolutely heinous. I really hope you notice this. This is one of those things where I say the thing and I'm like, oh, you hated this, and then you say what, and you didn't even notice it.
Go on.
But I found this. I found some errors in this book, mathematical errors, and this is one I found myself feeling very smug about because I think I found this one and no one else did. Now, I've read a couple of reviews of this book and no one's mentioned this yet, so maybe it's just me, or maybe I'm wrong, Darren, and I'm a rubbish mathematician. Let's find out. So, page 129. One of the things that Joe Boaler wants to concentrate on and finds to be a core part of mathematics is linear relationships. The example that, oh my God, the example that
I have it written down here as a thing I hated.
My butt is sweating. Right. The example that Joe Boaler gives of linear relationships is COVID data.
Right.
Which, to my mind, I mean, even to somebody who hasn't studied mathematics at any level, I feel like the message that eventually got out there after maybe 2 or 3 years of COVID messaging was, it's exponential, it's exponential, it's exponential.
Right. The only way you could make it a linear relationship was by plotting it on a log scale.
Or as a piecewise function. I did say I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I was literally there Googling, can an exponential and a linear relationship be the same thing? Like, I didn't know that because I was so scared that I was wrong. I was like, this is a Stanford professor. How can I be wrong? But no, right? They're different things.
No, I did have that genuinely as a thing that I hated. Well done, marks to you. Because it's one of those things where you just, it just undermines a little bit what's in the book.
It's so careless.
Right. And it's such a straightforward one, or it seems to me. Like, as soon as I read it, I was like, huh. And maybe it's because we're both quite tuned to thinking about COVID in a way that maybe people have been encouraged not to be. But yeah, it jumped out at me, that one.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, great. Right. So the second one was the data awareness rules. We've talked about this treatment of data being quite good on the whole, but on page 132, there's a sort of list of, now Darren and I have been working on this exact area quite recently, so maybe I'm being hypercritical, but yeah. I don't think you would have liked the bullet points on page 132. I certainly didn't. So I recommend asking yourself these important questions whenever you see data or data visuals. I'm going to look at Darren's face while I do this. Who produced the data? What is their goal in producing it? Don't mind that one.
No.
Is all the data being displayed? Now, Darren and I know a mutual person who never uses the singular for the word data and will be horrified at this grammatical error. I'm going to breeze past it. Is all the data being displayed? If not, what is omitted? Are the axes or legend sensible? Oh. Or are they built to emphasize a point? What relationships are evident? Are the relationships causal or just correlated? I think there's another option between causal or just correlated. I think there are lots of other things they could be. Anyway, I don't know. Did you like, hate, or feel indifferent about those?
So I felt like, in terms of the lack of like detail in a lot of this book, they were fine.
Oh, okay.
There's lots more that could be said, but the basic, I mean, the basic principle of encouraging some critique and to think where data came from and what's being shown, like,
yeah, but do it properly.
Express it very differently, but
are all the data being shown? Well, that's not a criterion for a good graph or diagram.
But it's an important thing to think if you're thinking about, like, what's the purpose of this and what's being. I mean, it says
define all the data.
Says, is what's being emitted is appended to that sentence as well, which is the key part.
No, I'm not having it. Right. You and I have made the case, specifically you, for a long time, that using large multivariate data sets with students is a great thing, and encouraging them to explore and work with quite a lot of different types of data, right? I would say it's one of the fundamental Macy principles. Now, then if we ask questions like, is all the data displayed what has been omitted? Immediately those things are in tension. I have chosen to display some of the data because there's so much of it and it's multivariate, and I have omitted some of the data because it doesn't tell the story I want to tell. That does not necessarily imply any kind of misinformation or any bad actor intention at all. And I shouldn't have to list all the data that I didn't use on my diagram every time I do that.
No, but when you're looking at a diagram and thinking about like, okay, what's not here?
Right, are you going to the main
Yeah.
data set then every time you're reading a newspaper? Oh, I'm just looking at the Financial Times today. That's come from this study. Oh, look at this spreadsheet. Wow, there's 10,000 pieces of data here and they didn't use 9,500 pieces of them. Nobody's doing that. That's a really bad way to critique something. It's not well conceptualized.
But if you're thinking about, I guess it depends if you're thinking about individual data points compared to.
And this is what I want to see in these questions. Let me understand the difference between individual data points and the whole data set.
But I think as a better than most lists that are published in things with statistics, like I'm happy with it. Like it does enough for me in the context of this book.
No, I think it sounds like ChatGPT wrote it. It's generalized, too vague, doesn't help me. I'd rather have nothing.
We're
on to things
I
that
don't
I
want to
hate.
let perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I also wrote depressingly light on assessment.
Yeah, there were a couple of points about assessment that I liked, and then it didn't really go into any great detail. Yes. That's definitely true. I think the thing that I really hated about this book, and it has nothing really to do with the maths and the way she talks about maths and stuff. It is a cavalcade of big clang, name drops. I'm a wonderful teacher. Here's my product platform.
Pull back on the I'm the wonderful teacher. Lots of this is about other people being wonderful teachers.
There is, but there's an awful lot of it. Just there were points in the book where I was reading it thinking this feels like advertorial rather than a book about maths education. Or like almost like some of the anecdotes, the way that she presented them about particular students or particular classroom experience and things felt like answers to interview questions. Like, give me.
Okay, can I just pause there and say more than Peter Liljedahl's book?
I think it was more jarring in this one for me because of all the stuff, all of the other.
Because she's a woman. It is internalized misogyny that we think that. Let's just examine it. It absolutely is.
So I did absolutely trouble that thought when I was reading it. And I think I hope it's not that.
It absolutely is that for both of us. Let's just start there. It definitely is that. We don't like the fact that a woman is trying to make a business in education in the same way that plenty of men have, and is being quite so self-advertising about it. That's gonna jar.
But I also find that uncomfortable, whoever it is. And
Right, but we didn't really make the substantial critique of Peter Liljedahl, and yet it's very similar.
But the thing with this one is it's also got all the stuff about, like you said, the deferential stuff about the CEOs, the sort of wonderful California life of
There's some lovely deferential stuff about teachers as well in there. Really nice.
Yeah.
Stories of individual teachers who are great. There's a lot of that.
That's true. But the really clangy stuff I bounced off. There was a comment. There was some stuff about like my friend Conrad Wolfram and
I knew that would wind you up.
There was another bit as well. Again, another bit that like thing. The mathematics. His Mathematica powers ChatGPT, which again just like
that as well.
And Siri and Alexa, which just feels like marketing copy, very sort of AI industry hype and stuff. It just there was just this vibe of marketing and advertising through it that it just made me bounce off it, and I think, and it was cumulative. So like at the start, I didn't really notice it, but the more I read through the book, by the end of it, I just every time it came up, and I'm probably more critical because it just wore me down over the course of the book. To by the end of it just leapt out at me.
I agree, and I'm going to offer a slight counter to that, which is, for those who aren't familiar with the strange story of Jo Boaler, she has been really attacked, and it is worth noting, again, my position on this is I believe women, and I believe misogyny, and both of those things, should take prominent place in this. And she's had attempts to make her work discredited. She's had a lot of pushback. She's had abuse. She's had death threats. She mentions all this in the book. None of this is a secret. However, it does explain the defensive stance and the credentializing of self. I think it does explain that. I'm not saying I like it, but it's the reason for it, right?
And I think I have some stuff to sort of say about that as we go through, because I completely agree. And I think one of the things I felt reading this book was that there is someone who has had a really negative experience, and that then, very naturally informs.
You get spiky, folks. Take it from someone who knows.
Right. And so yeah, I think I found this stuff really frustrating to read, but I can also,
yeah, I mean, where I was totally lost is right at the end. I was kind of on her side, I'll be honest, even despite all this horrible crap. And then we got to the end and it was how much of a warrior she was. And we started to connect into world religions, and there was a lot of...
Yeah, there was a whole load of woo-woo that came in at the end, somewhat surprisingly.
I was not going to use that word. There was some content that really turned me off at the end. Yeah. I think, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Things that I hated.
Things that you hated. Okay, so this one is slightly cheating because we did have half a conversation about it. And if it was just the half a conversation, then I wouldn't use this, but I think there's more to it in the end. So the pictures. So this is a book that's really full of pictures, and normally it's the easy win of saying, there's pictures in the book. Lucy loved that.
Folks, it's like he hasn't heard what I've said for the last 7 episodes.
However, the very brief conversation we had was just around the style of the pictures, and not necessarily gelling with them, and wondering how they were produced.
The style of some of the pictures. There are 2 distinct styles of pictures in this book.
Now, the thing that I actually think you didn't like about the pictures was that in an awful lot of cases, they don't really have a great deal of purpose.
I will give you that.
Nice illustrations, and they maybe sort of vaguely correspond to what's on the page, but they don't do anything particular.
Right.
And the thing that really crystallized that for me was that on page 217, there were 2 pictures on that page, or on that sort of double page spread.
Yeah.
One that was just like one of the nice illustrations, and one that was highlighting paper folding of negative numbers. But also on that page was a description of students doing an activity where a dot was drawn on a circle and then rolled around a shape, which was really hard to visualize and would have absolutely benefited from a picture. And if there was no space for a picture, then maybe you go, okay, that's fine. But there are pictures on this page, one of which definitely isn't doing anything.
Correct.
And
I agree.
For me, I think that's where you would struggle with the decisions in particular about which images to have and what not to illustrate.
I think you've really nailed it. Now, the first...
It's podcast number 6, and I finally nailed it. Yeah.
It's not number 6.
Yes, it is.
Or maybe it's number 6. I don't think it's more than that. Anyway, sorry. Yes. Okay. Right. Now, the thing to note here is about... So I saw those 2 types of images. There are figures in this book, and they're different because she actually labels them figures.
Yeah.
So there are graphs, there are illustrations, there's mathematical images, and then there's pretty much cartoons. And I'm going to apologise to Kane Lynch, who did the illustration of this book, because about 12 pages in, I went and had to search up whether those were AI generated, because they look so AI generated. And I do apologise, Kane. The issue here is that AI has stolen your work, right? Not the other way around. But they are in that phase of just being a little bit vague mathematically and pedagogically for me. And they're kind of, some of them are sort of nice-ish pictures, but this is absolutely no shade on Kane's illustration style. It does come across a little bit like the generic AI style, which is awful. And there's a reason for that. It's because they aren't doing anything. You're right. I don't know what the brief was given, but most of the time it's like, draw something adjacent to the text. Well, I don't want adjacent. I want specific, focused, helping and illustrating in a way that does a job. So you're absolutely right. And I've got this massive list of diagrams that I was just like, don't know what this adds. Why is this here? I don't understand this. they're all so tiny. Even the ones that aren't illustrations, that are actually graphs, or have like illustrations of student work or all sorts of things. Fully a quarter to a third of those were so tiny I couldn't read them. And oh my God, please stop doing it. It's so frustrating. There was a really cool model of mathematical modelling that I really wanted to read, and I just couldn't make any, like, I'm here with like 3 magnifying glasses at this point.
And I think the other thing, and it'd be interesting if you felt this too, you sort of touched on it a little bit there. Now, if you've paid someone to produce all of those bespoke images to illustrate adjacent to the text, that suggests a certain.
We're assuming that the illustrators got paid, folks.
Assuming.
We don't know.
But the more mathematical diagrams, there wasn't a consistent design style to those.
No.
A lot of them were, photos of things, and not necessarily bad photos or whatever, but because you have that kind of very particular design style of all of the cartoons, then the ones that weren't cartoons feel a bit kind of inconsistent, because it doesn't have the same design-liness to it. There's no house style.
One of the substantive critiques of this book, most of which I dismiss as nonsense, but one of them is it feels cartoony and childish because of the illustrations.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree. I feel, if anything, patronised by those illustrations. I feel like you're just giving me pictures because you think I can't handle words.
And I think it sets up a tension between what I assume was, the sort of thing that I would infer is, it's like, okay, the whole ethos of Mathish to kind of burst the bubble around like stress around maths and make it a bit more friendly and a bit more accessible. So we've got this kind of cartoon style to kind of really support that. But the conflict that then sets up with, I've been really damaged by my experiences of people like undermining my work, take me seriously. Like, right. There's sort of there's a tension within the book that then,
and I kind of applaud the choice on that basis, right? She's gone hard, she's lent into it, fine, but yeah, I didn't like them. I found so often they didn't add anything or illustrate anything. I've got so many questions about diagrams. Seriously, Joe, if you want to sit down for like 3 hours with me and just cut, like, what does this asterisk mean? What is this graph about? I don't understand this question. Is there something missing here? There's the word I've used is careless. It's not just the text, it's the diagrams and the pictures. Careless, careless, careless. This has not been edited correctly. Somebody did not go through this with the kind of fine-tooth comb that Lucy would have done. And I'll take that job for version 2 if you want, because there's so much going on there that needs more care and attention. Please do it, guys. Please.
So I have 2 others.
Yes.
That I just want to trot out. And again, one of these is I wonder if Lucy noticed it. And one of them is I want to say this because I think you had a visceral reaction to it when you read it. So there was page 248. This was an anecdote. And so I think, as a thing within the book, it's not a thing you hated about the book, but it was an anecdote about a maths department where people had to announce their Putnam scores when entering a meeting. And I think you had a visceral reaction to reading that.
I wrote yuck on it.
Yeah.
And she specifically says this to me is a form of abuse. Yes, and yes. Agree.
Yep. So there was that. And
I had never heard of a Putnam score before this, and I never really want to hear any more about it because I couldn't care less.
Oh, yeah, just awful. The other one, so this is the one that I wonder if you noticed, and I wonder if it's being a bit hypercritical as well on my part, but I also know that you are quite
hyper or hypo.
Hyper. So there was a description on page 244 about an approach to sort of lesson structure from someone called Wyman, and talks about the way Japanese classrooms work. And said the Japanese structure shares qualities with the Wyman approach. And
which are you on page 244?
Page 244, yeah.
Okay.
And it's a really small thing, but there was this this bit of me that, having had so much stuff about diversity, equity, all these things throughout the book, the direction in the way that was expressed seemed wrong to me. It was the Japanese, or the whole Japanese societal structural lessons is aligned with this individual teachers' approach, rather than this teacher seems to align with how they.
Are they a teacher or are they a researcher?
Might be a researcher, yeah.
I think they're a researcher. Yeah, I didn't notice that, but I think the general vibe of, again, carelessness, not paying attention to claims, and a bit of a broad brush, I agree, is irritating.
But it was that slightly sort of colonial adjacent thing of the Western educator and the Japanese approach. And
agree.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing you haven't really said is, for me, it's the general oversimplifying of procedural and conceptual.
Yeah.
And the riding hard on the horse of everything procedural is terrible, never do it, which just goes to... I mean, you have to work really hard to alienate me about this, right? I am absolutely on board of conceptual learning in maths is really important. Let's not teach kids to memorize facts and procedures to the detriment of their understanding. You do not have to convince me this, Joe Boaler, I promise you. And yet what you've ended up doing is pissing me off, which is unheard of on this topic, because I'm pretty chill about it. I think both of them are important. Both of them have their point. I've reproduced, summaries of the research that she's reproduced there, and I've come to a slightly different conclusion. Let's face it, I've not ridden quite so hard on this horse. So she says, don't teach algorithms until a student understands the thing conceptually. Do not do it. It is harmful. That isn't what that research says, right? By the way, exactly, and not 100% wholesale. And she says, wildly, when she's giving the example of her learning about American football, I have not learned facts or procedures about American football, but I've learned to see patterns, as an example. She's not learned a single fact about American football, Darren, but she can see patterns in it. What are you talking about? Stop. This false binary drives me crazy. I agree already, but putting these things like this and saying there's no overlap and they don't complement each other, and that, facts are over here and conceptual understanding over here and never the twain shall meet, is so unhelpful. I'm so tired of it. Like, stop doing it. Of course you need some facts, because also without facts we have our misinformation.
Yes. I mean,
I've put false binary klaxon, baby and bathwater klaxon.
Amazing. Love a klaxon. Okay. All right. So I think I get some points there.
Absolutely. You get some points. Yeah.
Good. I did feel quite confident about those ones this week, unusually so. Okay. A phrase or word you enjoyed.
So I saved this a bit because this is the main thing that I loved with this book. And I really did love it, the ish numbers concept. And I actually think the whole book should have been structured around that. And this is why this is not successful. Bad editing, not well explored, and the ordering's all off. Right, start with that. And so she says, ish numbers and shapes are important. They could help give a root to number sense and shape sense. Yes, they can help soften the hard edges of mathematics. Yes, protecting from the dangers of perfectionism. But to some people, the idea of ish numbers is heresy. Yes. All of this is beautiful. Now, I will say I wasn't mad about the writing in this book. It's all right. It's kind of all right. It's very vague and a bit generalized. Yeah. And like I said, badly edited. Somebody needed to take a hacksaw to this. But that part I liked. What about you?
So, I mean, I have to say, like, again, the criticism we have aside, and particularly that sense of vagueness, sometimes waffliness or whatever, there were a whole bunch of things I really liked and sentences that I liked. So there are a few of them here. So page 16, this is the damage of the performance culture. It robs people of their right to enjoy mathematical ideas and become mathematically empowered. Yes, 100% yes. Yeah. The damage of performance culture, obviously something I'm particularly interested in. Touched on this already. I'm committed to the idea that all mathematical topics, including algebra, can be enhanced with data taken from the world. Yes, and thrice yes. And then one that I just thought was a lovely turn of phrase, which I thought you probably would have enjoyed as well, was page 122. The world is filled with naturally occurring decimals. Judging by your face. We've had
this conversation multiple times before. I hate the word natural. Every time someone uses the word natural, I get a horrible reaction. What does natural mean?
I mean, in this context, I think it's okay. Naturally occurring.
No.
They're everywhere.
No. They are all every single decimal in the world is person created. Therefore, literally the opposite natural. I'm not having it.
Fair point. I still enjoyed it though. So
you can enjoy whatever you like. I'm not here to yuck your yum. Okay.
Okay. Something then that enlightened you in this book.
Honestly,
yeah,
I've written nothing. I didn't feel that enlightened. And the reason is bad ordering, bad editing, lack of focus. I've written down there are 7 principles in the blurb which are at no point referred to in the main text. There are 8 strategies to encourage metacognition on page 38, 2 of which I maintain are exactly the same thing. If you're looking at it, number 5 and number 8, they're not different. And then 3 core concepts on page 95 are introduced, which then thread throughout the book. Stop with the list of things, and they don't relate to each other, and at no point do we have a discussion of the diagram that might unify them in some way. What is your theory of maths learning that you're trying to sell me on, Joe Boaler? Because I'm kind of half sold already, but yet you've managed to turn me away from it. If it's this thing, great, just write the book about that. So not enlightened at all. If anything, I feel more confused than when I started.
Ouch.
Which is, again, if you edited this book, I apologise, but also I don't. Maybe she was really hard to edit, but maybe you needed to be a bit tougher on her.
So, I mean, again, I really felt like I was reaching to find something here in the same way. And in some sense, I sort of characterize this book in many ways as a warm bath. There's sort of a bunch of stuff that I agree with. It's nice and pleasant and relaxing. And then also there's some grit and piranhas in that bath as well, and things that I fancy.
A warm bath of piranhas is absolutely not a warm bath that's comforting in any way.
It's a warm, comforting bath, and occasionally someone drops a piranha in. And it's a terrible metaphor. But in terms of enlightening...
Let's all just enjoy how bad that metaphor is, because you just need one piranha.
To ruin a bath.
Correct. Copyright Lucy Backwell-Smith.
That is an inspirational Facebook meme if ever I saw it.
Only takes one piranha
to ruin a bath.
And I can't believe that wasn't the first part of that metaphor
that
occurred to you.
Of an old white man next to the quote.
And that also is really unhelpful, because I don't think this was ruined by a single piranha. I think it's one of those baths where you put the bath salts in, but it's not hot enough. And so you get in the bath and it sort of seems all right. There's bubbles. And then, oh God, there's grit at the bottom. Yeah. And your butt
grit and piranhas.
Your butt is sandpapered by the grit.
Yeah.
In this, and the longer you stay in the bath, the more your butt is sandpapered, and not in a good way. That's a metaphor, isn't it?
And the bubble bath seemed luxurious and enveloping to start with, but within a couple of minutes, it's just like a little scum. Anyway,
you're just too dirty. That's the problem here.
Have more baths. So the one thing I did pull out, which I liked a lot, as a way of conceptualizing something, was talking about in the first, it's the quote is, in those first moments, his main job as a teacher was to protect and value their mathematical thinking, whether it was correct or incorrect. I thought that was a really nice conceptualization of taking answers from students and taking that responsibility, not to basically say, wrong. And
the second part of that quote is investigating the mathematical process and giving it value. Right. Valuing incorrect answers does come through very strongly in this book, and I like it.
Yeah, and so not necessarily enlightening, but definitely something I'm 100% on board with, and like the conceptualization of in those terms. Okay, we are coming rapidly towards the end. Something confusing. I mean, you've kind of said
so many things. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about the girls and boys, non-binary students, do it properly, do it consistently. I think there's 2 main issues for me. There are errors in this book, and I've noted one, which is a really big one, which is characterising COVID cases linear. I mean, it just isn't. But then there's also another mathematical error with fractions in this book, which is, again, kind of heinous. It took me ages to figure out what was going on there. It's bad enough trying to understand dividing fractions through a diagram anyway. it's hard neurological work. Please check it and make it important. That really confused me. I spent fully 20 minutes just on that diagram trying to figure out what was wrong, and it's just there's some parts that are left out, and so that's pretty important. And then the big thing for me is right at the end, so sort of page 240ish onwards, we've got some discussion of this significant pushback in her work and her discussion of the California mathematic framework. Why not address the critique? This is what I find difficult. You literally have a platform here. People are going to read this book. Lots of people have made critiques of that framework, and very public ones, and they've really gone after her. And some of it I will classify over here as woke maths, and I'm not interested in it. It's crap. But some of it has substance to it. And if you are a scholar, you should be addressing critique on the regular. Where is it?
Yeah, I think that aligns to the thing that I felt was confusing, which was a really confusing decision for me to write that last chapter.
Yeah, why have it at all? Exactly.
And it felt to me as well. So first of all, it's the chapter's titled something like "A Vision for a New Mathematical Future."
Yeah.
A new mathematical future. But actually, by the end of that chapter, it's just talking about how attacked she was and how she's dealt with that and how she thinks other people should deal with attacks and things, which doesn't relate to the title. But also it meant that the book finished on a real kind of downer, a real kind of negative framing. I feel like I completely respect her desire and decision to want to say something about the experience, because it's obviously been pretty horrible. I was really confused that she put that as the final part of the book. If anything, it undermined.
I would have it up front.
Right.
So many people are basically reading this because they want the tea. Give them the tea.
Right. Or even as a preface to the book, like, this has been my experience. Like, now we've got that out of the way and dealt with it.
Right.
We can focus on the maths part of the book.
Except you're saying the opposite thing to what I'm saying, which is I want to hear the actual critiques that have been made. I know that she has been abused, and that is the word, and she has been attacked, and her work has been, in many ways criticised. And some of that is just people saying, I don't want everyone to learn maths, and I can't say that part out loud, right? Fine. Yeah. But there will be some substantial parts there, and I want to hear about it. It's not just the circumstance of the story, it's the actual feedback.
But I'm not I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, that bit, I think, could form an integral part of the book, because it's about saying, this is the critique, but this is why I've done it, and this is what it should look like in practice as part of the mathish thing. That could be woven through. Yeah. But the bit about the impact of the personal experience and how she's dealt with it, if she felt she wanted to address that doesn't feel like part of mathish. Yeah, I agree. That's something that she absolutely has the right to talk about. Put it as a preface to the book. Put it as the background, the context, and out of all of this criticism, I've written this book to put maths in the terms that I believe it is, or whatever. Right. It was a really weird way to end the book on that stuff. Yep, agree. So yeah. Okay. Question you'd like to ask the author?
I'll tell you what. This is 2025. Why is there no mention of AI in this book, apart from the single passing reference to Wolfram and ChatGPT?
There was another one, which is my question I'd like to ask the author. Can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
What the fuck is page 87, where she's talking about, again, another sort of Stanford acquaintance, a computer science professor, who she describes as a thought leader who had recently invented self-driving cars?
Yes.
What?
Why are you? What? I mean, within this book, that makes perfect sense. She's said many similar things.
He'd recently invented self-driving cars. What? This one.
It's the claim. You are making some kind of issue with the claim.
It's a strange thing, and I mean, I hate like when people are described as thought leaders as well. I also hate that. Like, why are you doing that? Right. But yeah, just that claim jumped out and said, what was that?
Was that worse or better than describing Paul Black as a very important person in the UK?
Very important person.
In the UK. You might not have heard of him, but he's really important.
Yeah, I think the broader question is, like, what's going on with the descriptions of all of these
Yeah, I agree.
like tech people and CEOs and stuff. But I think it's a very California vibe. I think she's gotten kind of native, possibly, having lived out there for a while and stuff. I don't know, but
you, a person from Portsmouth, describing what you think to be a California based on absolutely nothing. We visited California once, Darren, for like a week. No, how long were we there? 2 weeks. Unless you've been back to California without me.
As a middle-aged white male, I feel I can have opinions based on vibes and some TV programs I watched.
Yeah.
So
great.
Okay. So, overall thoughts then. We should bring this to a close.
I'd recommend it. I think there's a lot of great ideas in here. It's just horrifically structured and edited, and maybe that's a me thing. You might love it, which is great. Give it a go. It's not super expensive, and it is interesting at times. At other times, it goes on a lot about the same sorts of things, and there's a real sort of confusion about the way it's structured. But I think I would say if I were a teacher, I would probably enjoy this. I will say, having been a teacher previously, I really enjoyed some of Joe's more previous work, and maybe it's just in my current version as a researcher I have more issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing for me, I've just gone very blurry. The thing for me about this book, again, and exactly the same, I would definitely recommend people read it, and I think probably part of the thing that made it most difficult to read is that I kind of agree so hard with the basic conception of maths education that Joe sets out in here. I've done lots of thinking about it myself and tried to express it. And so therefore it feels very familiar and bits are missing. I think if you don't have that same conception of maths education, there's a lot in this book that would be super interesting because
but not persuasive or coherent.
But it's a really good entry point, I think, to a different way of thinking about mathematics. And if you're a non-mathematician, again, we both take issue with those kind of sentences.
No such thing.
There could be some interesting stuff there. What I did think, actually, at one point when I was reading this is it's sort of like a much better version of the math problem book that we read in the second episode. In that it has...
Every book that's ever been written is a better version of that book.
Right. But there was just a point where I thought about, like, it's talking about a different conception of maths and the fact that maths doesn't serve people well and blah, blah. Like, that guy, whatever his name, or whatever his pseudonym was. Theo Rising was sort of trying to write some version of this, but from his conspiracist thing. There's something that sort of,
maybe
there's a
You're
Venn
making
diagram.
me think that we should have like a Top Gear wall, where we have to position these on some sort of spectrum or scale, because you've basically now elevated this above the math problem. And fine, because you can't really write a worse book, but where does it go in comparison to building thinking classrooms? Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. We should do the Wheel of Maths books, or Wheel of Books, and decide the next one. Well, the next one will be
I'm so excited.
A general book. So let me get
a more teaching focused or pedagogical focused or education system focused book. Yes. Great, because frankly I'm worn out from constantly trying to interpret how to divide fractions in different ways in this book. It was very hard work. I did have to do quite a lot of maths doing this book. Actually, some of it I really enjoyed.
Okay, are you ready?
Always.
Let's share the screen. So here we go.
Ooh.
We have visible learning, evidence-informed wisdom, making better decisions in education.
Where did you get visible learning from?
I thought that's what it came up on the thing. Maybe it's just as evidence-informed wisdom.
Visible learning was the John Hattie
book I was referring to about
10 minutes ago.
I was reading the thing as it stopped and it moved past it. The danger of placing your bet wrong on the roulette wheel. Evidence-informed wisdom, making better decisions in education, the Teacher CPD Academy.
Oh, do we know who that's by?
Let's have a look.
I'm intrigued
that is-
by the idea of the Teacher CPD Academy.
That is by, oh, you'll love this,
Uh-oh.
what I think is 3 men. Bradley Bush, Edward Watson, and Matthew Shaw.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Well, so we have our next book to read. We therefore have only our outro to say.
It's about that time. You can do it. I believe in you.
I can. I just have to find the script because I've clicked off of the thing with going for the other thing. Here we go. Well, it's about that time. Much as we may want to keep going, every good party has to end sometime.
Boo! I could talk about this book for about another 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it looks like the crisps, aka our coherent thoughts on this book, fair enough, have run out.
Thanks for coming to our research party, and we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye.